Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another reaction, another Ace Combat reaction. It's been a while, and Spindrift has had this in the queue for a long time. And this is going to be Ace Combat Zero, apparently a symphony version of it and a dual mix version of it. There's just a lot of things going on with this particular version of the song, so I suppose I should be giving it a shot, as I always do, and we'll hear what makes this song so dang popular. I'm seeing a lot of like sidebar videos on this, just so many on this specific song, so I've got to assume it's great. Without further ado, let's go. It's been a while since I've heard something recorded live like this, so this should be just fun in general, just based off that. Kind of got a bolero vibe going on. I think that's mostly the guitar that's giving me that opinion. Oh! So clean. Absolutely gorgeous. Not even a little bit off on any of those notes. Jesus! Professional vocalists scare me. It's insane how consistent they are. I love the guitarist on the right trying to like watch the guitarist on the left, making sure they're not getting off from each other. It's like, nope, we can't speed up. Gotta keep it regular. I like those accents a lot. Ooh. Time for some big support. Beautiful split in the vocals there. That was absolutely gorgeous. Oh, she's back. love that. Just laying on that top note. Throwing as much power as all possible into that. I'll be terrified if one of these times she like brings that up like another note. Like, no, you can only go so high. Like, chill. Ooh. Ooh. I was hearing the resonance of the bass in my right ear there, like right as the song was done. I miss that sound. I miss doing stage symphony stuff. The song had a lot of neat parts in it, and of course that's pretty common for the Ace Combat like series in general. There's a lot of uplifting tracks in there, but they like to ride that line a little bit of making things sound a little bit more serious, and in order to do that, you have to do exactly what they did here. In this case, this song was probably in A minor, given my like little play around on the keyboard earlier, just trying to figure that out. And the reason that this all works is because of how they handle certain movements in this song, and especially the vocal sections help out with this a lot, because one of them, the choir section, literally helps push that. Like the whole orchestra definitely does the exact same chord, but it's just with the vocals that helps separate everything a little bit more and make it more clear. Like in this example, there's a gigantic major chord there, but it kind of falls, and this whole key, I believe, is A minor, but it could be C major since they are relative keys and therefore share the exact same notes between them. But in this case, I think they might be sharing their parallels more, because their parallel keys don't share the same notes, because A minor's parallel is obviously A major, and that changes some of the notes. You have to change the relationship in order to get that different sound, minor versus major. So as they build up to that gigantic chord in there, they go from an A down to an A flat, or a G sharp if you want to call it that. And I think that that relationship, it being the G sharp, is what makes it move to the A major instead of the A minor, because that's in A major, G sharp is. So there's this slight half step down, and it helps kind of adjust the song into the next movement. It brings everything down with it a little bit, but it still feels major because you're changing some of the relationships of the chords there, and you're moving it to a different key effectively when you do that. A half step usually will move the entire feel of a piece, and when it's like this on a major portion that then shifts to a different section of the song, that's when that movement is supposed to happen. If you were to do that in the middle of a movement, that would feel really jarring and just unconventional. So moving it at the end of the measure is exactly what you want to do, instead of trying to do that in the middle somewhere. It would just not feel as good, and it doesn't land on this heavy resolution that helps the brain kind of lock into what was supposed to be the change there. And the other obvious example of this during the song is the soloist singer. She goes up to a B on that final note, and she just sits on that B, and that fits in the A minor key just fine. But the way that it just sits up there as everything else moves around it helps create sort of a like loose floating, like there's no movement really wanting to happen in there. It keeps things consistent. It's almost the exact opposite feel to what the choir does later in the song with that other change we just talked about. So there's this whole relationship with this song of like, when do you want this song to lift and stay there? When do you want to keep the player, the listener, in this moment and have them focus on exactly what's at hand here? And when do you want them to like subconsciously move to the next part? That could be the next part of the fight. That could just be a kind of a subtextual push to do something else. I could actually feel this song playing a bunch during the actual playthrough, and I'm not sure if these sections kind of keep going until you do something correct, but I could see that acting as kind of like a push to get the player to make that decision, even just again, subconsciously. That's the sort of thing music can do to a player. It's the same reason why music can sound scary and such. It's like it wants you to feel a certain emotion, so it can push that out of you a little bit. It can kind of drag you along with it in order to more or less entice you to make a decision or feel a certain way at a certain point. And I'm not sure, again, if this happens during any specific part during the moment in the game where this happens, but I could see that being utilized in that way, even if it was just a, come on, start making your decisions. You have to start doing things. You come on, make this story. I know I mentioned the guitarists in there as well, just watching each other, trying to figure out where each other are during the entire song, because you really can't feel that out. You have to follow the exact pace of the other player, and if one of you is slightly off, that'll create a gigantic issue for everyone else around you, especially when there's such a major part of this composition. So there's just a lot of fun relationships watching symphonic players work together and hear each other out and feel each other out and like really try to understand where the song is, where it's going. And while you may have a conductor, that does not mean that they are the end all be all. You have to listen and watch your other performers as well. Your fellow musicians around you are just as important in that context. And especially when you're playing something as fine-tuned as a stringed instrument, you need to be aware of those around you in order to not mess that up. In horns and brass, you can kind of fudge your entrance just a little bit and people might not notice too much. Obviously, the professional scene is way more tight about that than the amateur scene would be in like a school and such, but still is very important to be able to keep each other in line no matter what. Learning those sorts of things early in is exactly what separates pros from amateurs. And paying attention to the players around you is absolutely paramount in the symphonic scene, as well as any sort of group band setting. You need to be aware of the sound around you, otherwise everything will fall apart. Sound as a unit is so important, so if you as a player are the problem, everyone will know, and you don't want to be that person. But yeah, this one was really fun. I didn't know how much I was going to be able to talk about it when I saw that it was a live symphony, because that just makes things a little bit more difficult to kind of hear out what's happening in the mix, but this was very well produced. Sometimes live symphonic mixes aren't that great. Maybe the dual mix had something to do with that, but nonetheless, it was a really fun time to listen to this one, and I absolutely love these uplifting, bright tracks. Even if it apparently was in a minor key, that still sounded so bright and uplifting, and it helped carry this energy of like, man, I need to do this right now. And I feel that's just a lot of these games that are based off of aerial combat. You need to be able to kind of hone that in. You need to be able to know exactly how to write for that energy. But before I get on another rant, I think that's about all I've got to say in general. So thank you all so very much for watching. Thank you, Spinrift, for throwing this into the executive producer queue on my Patreon. And if you have any recommendations, drop them down in the comments below and I'll do my best to get to them as always. And otherwise, if you enjoyed this video and you want to follow me and support me for more in the future, you know how to do all that. And I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye!